for sure. No. For sure. You know, we connected to you.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, good morning, District 1. Yes. Oh, my goodness. We are back live and in person. Ooh-wee. We miss you, too. We miss everyone. It's so beautiful to see you all here. See some very familiar faces that we've seen over the years. As you know, we started this meeting back in 2013. We started hosting these District 1 monthly meetings, and every month we would make sure that we bring presentations that matter to you. During COVID, the 2 years, we had to go back and retreat behind the screen, and it was challenging. It's been very challenging for many of us, and as I say, I see many faces that are familiar. There are some familiar faces that are not here today. We lost them during the COVID crisis when it first came upon us, and we're still in the process of trying to figure out who we're going to be, where we're going to be, but we're working through it. We're working through it, and every day we see a little bit more change back to not necessarily what it was before, but what our new normal is going to be. And we don't know where we're going to land, but right now I'm just thankful, and I know we all are thankful that we are here today. So y'all give yourself a round of applause, please. And I just want to give you all a round of applause, and I only have 2 hands, so I'm going to ask you to do that as well, because here's the thing. You have no idea how anxious I was, and still am. Let me be honest with you. But certainly, because you never know how many folks are going to show up to these meetings. You never know how many folks are going to tune in and adhere to the information that we have available. But you're here today, and we typically have about 100 folks in the meeting. We've got about 50 here today. That's pretty doggone good. Again, give yourself a round of applause. And this is actually a hybrid meeting, so we have folks who are watching on Zoom and Facebook as well. So we are back. Again, thank you so much. And I would like to give a moment of silence, if we can, please, for those members of our D1 community who certainly would have been here today, but because of all the challenges we've had over the past 2 years, they're not. All right? We'd like to give a moment of silence, please. Thank you. All right. So, without further ado, last time we were actually in this facility, in this building, was 2016. And we had a great meeting that day. We talked about Proposal A and Proposal B. We had a young person who was a judo champion. I still remember it to this day. These meetings are very important to me. Give us an opportunity to meet each other and, again, talk about things that matter in our lives. Before I go any further, I want to provide an opportunity for Mr. Curtis Robinson, who's representing the church, to come on up and say a few words on behalf of Christian Fellowship of Love. Y'all give him a round of applause. Y'all too quiet. Y'all better give some love. You know how we do it. All right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Pro Tem. Hello, everyone, and thank you to Christian Fellowship Love today. Pro Tem just pulled me out the back. I'm the facility manager, so I do everything except preach and speak. But since I'm up here today, I want to thank everyone for attending the meeting today. It's very, very our pleasure to have you here today in our church. And of course, it is a church, so God bless all of you, all of those that we lost, and Pro Tem, absolutely, for having this meeting today. Now, it is a church as well, so Sundays at 10 o'clock. If you guys aren't busy, just stop in and taste us, see if we're your flavor or not, and if so, then come back and worship with us. We'd love you. We would love you. Also, we have a pantry 3rd Saturday of every month. We have ballroom dance Friday evenings, every Friday evening, beginners and advanced, and of course, 10 o'clock Sunday mornings. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate having you. And come back. Hey, he said 2016. No, we're going to be back soon. All right? Be back here soon. All right. Thank you all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate you. Now, y'all got to give him a better round of applause. I did just pull him. I pulled him. And he set all this up. I mean, this was not an easy feat. And we called you because we had another location, and they weren't able to accommodate us. And we called on the drop of a dime, and he said, yeah, we got you. We got you. So we appreciate you and appreciate the love. And also, Dr. Terry Thomas, who's the pastor, I know, yeah, he hears it right now. We want to make sure we thank him as well for, again, opening up the doors for us. All right. As you probably see, we've got some new faces, on the team. And I want to take the time right now, first of all, to honor the teams who've been here and worked with me, because there's no way we've been able to pull this together, and you all together in a room without the assistance of those who have been with us in the past. One of them, I'm looking at it right now, Yelena, shout out. But I also want to take the time to introduce the new team, Tate. All right? So, Team Tate, come on up, if you will. Come on, no, y'all. So we're in the process right now. We're regrouping, reshaping, trying to identify who's the next and best person to join this team. And I love the team that we had, but they went on to bigger, brighter things. And many of them have been with me for 10 years, 12 years, and they have an opportunity to see and see new things, experience new endeavors as well. So I want to introduce you to the new team, Tate, starting with Keontae Humphreys, Chief of Staff. Yeah. And we want them also, just say a few words, introduce yourself, say a few words, what your title is, so I don't forget. No, I'm just messing with you. I'm messing with you.
Good morning again, everyone. Awesome. Good morning. We've got some coffee in the back if you haven't gotten any yet. Again, my name is Keontae Humphreys, and I am the Chief of Staff for President Pro Tem Tate. I've been with City Council going on 2.5 years now. I was with former City Council member Raquel Castaneda-Lopez in District 6. And I, let's see, what else? Something fun about me. I don't live in the district, unfortunately, but my grandparents did, so I know District 1 quite well. Have been here, grew up here on Rutherford and McNichols, not 6 Mile now that I work for the city, right? And McNichols, and so glad to be with you this morning.
Good morning, District 1. My name is Jai Singletary. I'm a policy analyst in the Office of Council President Pro Tem Tate. This is my second go-around with City Council. Just like my colleague Keontae, I was in former member Castaneda-Lopez's office. I've been with Pro Tem for 6 months now, and a fun fact about me, I used to be on a salsa dance team. So I used to be on, yeah, that was a previous life. But thank you all, and good morning again.
Good morning. My name is Karen Williams. I am office manager / scheduler for Pro Tem Tate. I am 2.5 weeks old. I come from an extensive mortgage background, but I'm happy to be of service to you. Fun fact about me is I collect shoes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jawan Howard, and I'm the Special Projects and Partnerships Coordinator for Pro Tem James Tate. My background, I come from education background, and I'm a veteran. I also run the youth debate team in District 1. So aside from that, what else? I've been here for about 6 months, and a fun fact about me, I like playing video games. I guess that ain't that fun, but it is what it is.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lynn McNeil, and I'm the community liaison out of the Office of President Pro Tem James Tate. I was born in the district, actually, and went to Cook Elementary School right there on Puritan. So I even live, and I'm amongst a lot of my community leaders in here because they come to my house. You know what I'm saying? I have one thing that I ask of everybody in here. Collectively, we work together to do nothing but get results. That's all we do is get results. Ain't that right? You know what I'm saying? We've been getting them results. And a fun fact about me, I am a trained heavy machine backhoe operator.
How you guys doing today? Hi, I'm Brandon Whitfield. I'm community liaison for Pro Tem James Tate. New to the team, I think I'm about 2 weeks in. Yeah, about 2 weeks in. So I'm getting to learn everybody, looking forward to being hands on deck. Looking forward to learning each and every one of the different groups and everything, see how I can help contribute to the community. Fun fact about me is I am a Game of Thrones nut. Yeah. Huh?
All right, y'all give it up. You know how we do it. We got to show love. Y'all give it up one more time for Team Tate. Yeah. Because, there's no way nowhere. There's so much stuff happening behind the scenes that you have no idea that goes on. And my face is here, the one that you see all the time, but there's no way that I would be able to do any of what I do with the proficiency that we have been able to do it without our team. And I want to again thank them for being here. We also have partners that we have. And, you know, we don't shy away from the fact that we have partners on the administrative side of things. And we have our District 1 manager, Carla Williamson, here. And we have the new kid on the block on the other side of the fence with the district manager, our deputy district manager, Mr. Steele Hughes. Yeah, we love working with them, and you know, some places in the city, I'm gonna tell you, they don't have the best relationship. I'm gonna be honest with you, but we do, because we realize that whether you're from the executive branch or the legislative branch, we all here on behalf of the residents of the city of Detroit, District 1 in particular. So we're going to make sure we continue that relationship. So thank you for being here as well. All right. So now we're going to get into the first presentation. First presentation of today is about Project Clean Slate. If I can please have Ms. Shayla McElroy please join us. Y'all too quiet. Y'all too quiet. All right. All right. She is the project manager for Project Clean Slate. She has background in mental health counseling and case management, also has a passion for working with incarcerated individuals, and has spent her professional career providing substance abuse counseling and rehabilitation services to incarcerated youth and women. She earned her Bachelor's of Arts degree in psychology from Hampton University. Any HBCU folks in here? Okay, I heard one. All right. And she earned her master's degree in clinical mental health counseling from Western Michigan University. Now, okay, I got some more whoop-whoops, Western University, all right. So I won't steal her thunder, because I want you to tell them what Project Clean Slate is, but also why it's important. I'll just give a little snapshot. Since the program has began, we're looking at about almost 1,900 Detroiters who have been assisted, or is that number even higher than that now? Oh, see, the number's higher. This is what they're doing. So more than 215,000 Detroiters have criminal records, and it's estimated that about 168,000 are eligible for the services that she's going to outline to you today. So without further ado, again, Ms. Shayla McElroy. Thank you so much.
Okay, I wasn't expecting a mic, so hopefully, I'm holding it correctly and everybody can hear me. So somebody's gonna click through the PowerPoint for me? All right, appreciate it. So again, my name is Shayla McElroy, and I am the project manager for Project Clean Slate. And just really quickly, I want to talk to you about our program and the services that we're providing to Detroiters. Up here, you'll see our team, small but mighty team, making huge impact here in the city of Detroit. We're led by Stephanie LaBelle, who is our executive director. Then you'll see our lead attorney here, Christina. Again, the rest of our attorneys, our legal assistants, and then our program advisor, Ms. Carrie Jones-Grace. So that's our PCS team. So you can go ahead and click to the next one. All right, so the history of Project Clean Slate. So Project Clean Slate is a City of Detroit initiative that was started by Mayor Duggan back in 2016. And he started this program to help out Detroiters with their record relief, right? So anybody who has misdemeanors or felonies on their background, he wanted to make sure that people were being provided expungement services so that they can have access to additional housing, employment, and educational opportunities. What he ended up doing was he has a small team of attorneys, who you just saw on the screen, that's housed in the legal department in the city of Detroit, and we work specifically on providing expungement services. So, why do people seek expungement? So what we found is that when people register online for our program, 90% of them are saying that they're looking for better or more employment opportunities. And so with that said, in addition to offering these expungement services, we've also extended our program offerings. And so we partner with Detroit at Work to make sure that people are getting access to job training, employment placement. And then also we partner with the Community Health Corps, the CHC, so that individuals can also receive referral services. And so with those referral services from the CHC, They get a resource navigator, they get wraparound services, they get housing placement and things like that, because we recognize that not everybody is eligible for expungement, but people who need record relief have barriers that they're facing and that they deserve to have support as well. Next slide. So again, post-expungement, we found that most people see a 23% wage increase after they receive their expungement. And so we always share the story about a client that we had who was working at Taco Bell. She was making minimum wage, hourly salary. She came to us, received expungement services, and afterwards she was able to go through the managerial training program and ended up getting a yearly salary of a little bit over $50,000. So my favorite part, PCS by the numbers, right? So you can see a year after this program was initiated, so 2017, only 133 Detroiters registered for the program, which resulted in 8 expungements. But when you fast forward down to 2022, you can see that we hit, actually that number just increased. We're sitting at 1,059 expungements as of yesterday for just this year. So you can see in 2021, although that was a COVID year, we had almost 11,000 Detroiters register for our program. So again, you can see that people are really trying to get registered and take advantage of our services. And then again, this is just metrics again. But one of the ones I really want to point out is this one right here, convictions sought to be expunged. That's important because although we get expungements completed or granted, most of the time people have more than one conviction, and so this year we filed to have 1,579 convictions expunged for Detroiters. So, District 1, right, you want to know what's happening here in your community. So here's the numbers specifically for District 1. This year we've had 1,486 residents register for our program. So far, we've had 13 expungements, specifically for District 1, but a lot of the people who registered this year will not receive their expungements until next year because it's a lengthy process. It generally takes about a year for people to get their expungements granted. Then also you can see here by zip code how many people have registered for our program as well. And we went back into the numbers and we were able to pick up metrics from 2019 through Friday, and we found that we've gotten 463 convictions have been expunged so far for residents here in the district. So how to register, really quickly. So again, in order to kind of like pre-qualify for our program, one, you have to be a City of Detroit resident. You have to have some form of convictions on your background, some misdemeanors or felonies. You can get an unlimited amount of misdemeanors expunged. You can get numerous felonies expunged. Some things that would prevent you from being eligible for our program is if you have open or pending cases, if you have active warrants. We can't expunge any convictions that are out of state, and we can't expunge any convictions at the federal level. The legislation and the way that it's written right now, we can only expunge things on the state level. How to apply or register, you can just simply go to our website, which is www.detroitmi.gov/PCS. A little ribbon will generate that says register now. You'll click that ribbon. That form right there on the left side of the screen will populate. You'll just fill that out, upload the front and back of your ID, and it's just that simple. At that point, you'll receive an email from us every Tuesday just giving you an update on the status of your case and where you stand. So that's Project Clean Slate. Again, just kind of like what happens next is the 5 steps. So once you're deemed eligible, we will review your iChat, which is a copy of your conviction or record history. We'll also purchase your certified court records just so we can verify that the information on your background is correct. We will then have you come in so you can sign your expungement paperwork and complete your fingerprinting. We'll file your expungement application, and then lastly, we'll have our attorneys attend your expungement hearing with you, and hopefully you get your expungement granted. So I think I said everything that's up there. Yep. Next up should be contact info. There we go. So yeah, again, it's National Expungement Week, so the team has really just been trying to push out this information all week so Detroiters are aware of the program and so they can register. Again, if you apply to this program and you're eligible for expungement, it's 100% free. It costs you nothing. So It's Project Clean Slate.
Thank you, ma'am. So we're going to give you this mic here in case there's any questions. I'm sure there's a few questions out here. Any questions about Project Clean Slate? Anyone? We'll take that. Let her take that back.
I like it.
She likes it, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Johnny Mae likes it. All right, y'all give it up for Miss Shayla McElroy. Yeah, thank you so much. And this is important because, we have, as you heard about the numbers, a number of individuals who are returning, thank you, number of individuals who are returning citizens in the city of Detroit. And we have to make sure that we do everything we can to help them reintegrate back into society. And for those who had a bump in the road long time ago, this thing still keeps on bothering them. It still keeps coming up. So the city of Detroit a number of years ago, 2013 or so, we banned the box. So we don't ask that question, have you been incarcerated previous, record, or we don't ask that question. That was as a result of an ordinance by city council. State of Michigan, I believe, did the same thing in 2018 as well. And so we're progressively moving ahead, trying again to ensure that folks who make a mistake, those who want to get back integrated into society, that we have an opportunity for them to gainfully do so. So again, thank you for Project Clean Slate, and we really appreciate you being here and providing that information. So you all make sure you take advantage of that. Yep, got a question.
Do you work with handicapped people, handicapped or disabled individuals?
Do you work with those who are disabled, have any physical disabilities, mental disabilities?
So I would say yes. We get people who register for our program that have disabilities. And again, anybody who registers for the program, across the board, we always make contact because on that registration form, we ask them to list any additional barriers that they're facing. And if they identify 3 or more barriers, then we automatically reach out, kind of like do a pre-assessment to see what they need additional support with. And then that's when we make that referral to the community health corps so they can get those wraparound services. Yep, no problem.
All right. So we got a second segment coming up here now. And this is a segment for 313 Hope. Now, 313 Hope, it is a program within the health department. It is the City of Detroit's Health Department Behavioral Health, Harm Reduction, Outreach, Prevention, Education. That's what HOPE stands for. Harm Reduction, Outreach, Prevention, and Education. And so what 313 Hope does is provides resources to people seeking pathways to overcome trauma and achieve wellness. We got a question on Facebook. Oh, was there nobody saying? Okay. All right, well, I'm ready to go. See, I told you. Come on back up here, Miss McElroy.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Karen.
Ms. Gail Tubbs wants to know what felonies are not covered under PSC.
What felonies are not covered?
Yep, so that is a good question. So I'm going to lead by saying this, which might be a little disappointing. So I am not an attorney, and I don't want to try to self-vet anybody on like misdemeanors or felonies that may or may not qualify, because a lot of the times people will assume that they have a felony that does not qualify, and in actuality, it does. So I would just, again, say if you have convictions on your background and you want to see if you can get those expunged, to just simply apply to the program and let our attorneys, the experts, take care of that for you. Any other questions up there?
We did lose internet connection for a moment. Can you go over how they apply for it again, if you don't mind? Because they lost internet connections for a moment while you were speaking on that.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
Yep, so to register for our program, again, you go to www.detroitmi.gov/PCS. It'll be a ribbon on our website that says register now. You go ahead and you click that Register Now ribbon. After you click that ribbon, a form will generate, which will ask you a couple of questions. Again, name, number, email address, which is the most important thing because that's how we keep in contact with everybody. You'll also upload the front and back of your ID. After you have submitted that registration form, every single Tuesday you will get a personalized email from us letting you know the status of your case.
They gave a thumbs up. All right, y'all give it one more time. Oh, hold on. We got another hand. Oh, see, y'all play too much. Come on back. We got one more question. This the reboot and remix. All right, this will be our last question. Any more hands? All right, no. All right.
Good morning. I have I filed about 6 weeks ago with the city of the clerk and everything. I did my fingerprints. I sent off the money orders and everything. I never been to one of these projects, but I did it by mail and everything. And so when I called, they say they have no one in expungement for me to get with and everything to answer my questions, to check the status. And I'm just here to check my status on my paperwork. I have all paperwork with me.
Get clarity real quick. So did you register with our program specifically? Okay, so I wouldn't know. So our program is different from anybody else that's doing expungements across the city. So I wouldn't know the status of your case until you went online and registered with our program specifically. So although you're doing a separate process, I would encourage you to register for PCS as well because you might get a response quicker from us indicating to you if you qualify for expungement or not. Yeah. And again, it's totally free through us, and our attorneys take care of everything for you. Whereas some people who try to do it on their own, it can be a little bit confusing and things like that. Yep. And then I also want to kind of clarify too, sometimes we get a lot of people that will follow up and call us when they have attended like the expungement fairs. Project Clean Slate, we don't do any expungement fairs or anything in person. All of our stuff is through our registration form online and us following up with you via email or phone call. The only time we really attend the expungement fairs is when we're invited out to check out people's applications that have registered with us, just to give them a follow-up on site.
All right, this will be our last question, and we will make sure that we go to the next segment because, and you'll be around for a little bit, right? Okay.
Hello, everyone. Basically, I know a lot of people. I talk to every district every day, Monday through Friday, and there's people out here that's not computer illiterate. Do you guys have someone on site to help them?
Yep, so people that might not use the computer often or is limited in technology, they can always call us. Look, what's our number? 313-237-3024. If you call that number, we can go through and we can help people register online over the phone, and then we can schedule a time for them to come into the office so we can make the copy of the front and back of their ID. No problem.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shayla McElroy. All right. So as I mentioned before, we have 313 HOPE that's here joining us today, and they deal with substance abuse prevention as well as suicide prevention in young people. And we've been talking about this for a minute now with our D1 monthly meetings remotely, so it's great to be here in person to talk about the effects of it and what we are doing as a city and as a community to address both of those very, very important issues. So if I can have the team from 313 HOPE come forward, please come join us. Y'all give a round of applause. So substance abuse, I think a lot of us have in mind that younger children are starting younger and younger as it relates to substance abuse, unfortunately. You see the imagery on television and media as a whole, and unfortunately some of these young folks see it in their own households, which is pretty much the easiest way for them to get lured into that particular life. But when it comes to suicide, there's data reflects that an increase in suicide overdoses began around 2012. The most significant increase was among children in the age group of 10 to 12 years old, which increased from 1,058 in 2010 to now 5,606. That was back in 2020. And we know, again, COVID did a whole number on us, and these young folks have got a number of other challenges since then. So I don't know what those numbers look like nationally, but we do have some phenomenal individuals who are here that's going to present and give you information on Project 313 Hope. Y'all give it up one more time.
Thank you. So my name is Essence Yuki. I am the case manager at 313 Hope Detroit. I have over 15 years of experience in human services, ranging from housing resources to basic needs, services and resources, and just all resources that individuals might need. So 313 Hope Detroit is a program within the city of Detroit that addresses opioid use, substance use, mental health services, and a number of other different resources. We partner with several organizations throughout the city of Detroit. Today we're going to discuss what we actually do, the services that we provide, depression and suicide, warning signs, tips, and then resources. So we're going to split it up. Calvin Evans, who is one of my coworkers, is going to talk about suicide prevention and some other things. And I'm just going to address what we actually do. So like Councilman Tate stated, we are in the health department. This is our mission, vision, and values. You can go to the next slide. So just what is behavioral health? Most people think of behavioral health just in terms of mental health issues, things like suicide, depression. However, it encompasses substance abuse, mental health, injury prevention, and harm reduction. Our team addresses all of those. So in terms of injury prevention, we focus on violence interruption, public safety, and diversion initiatives. We partner with NPOs, which is through DPD. We also have empowerment programs as well. For substance use, we focus on post-overdose and crisis response. One of the major elements of our program is providing naloxone education, so administering naloxone for people who have overdosed through an opioid. We partner with schools because, as we know, a lot of our young people are greatly impacted by opioid use. We also partner with, we do on-site events where we train people to administer naloxone as well. We also provide recovery support and services and leakage to treatment for those who are impacted by substance use. For harm reduction, we have syringe service programs, safe drug disposal, and we do education on both of those as well. In terms of mental health, we provide mental response training and certification. Calvin is one of our master trainers in ACEs, as well as some other trainings as well. We also link people to DWIN services, and we promote anti-stigma and public awareness campaigns as well. ACEs are adverse childhood experiences. We provide radical healing and expressive arts, restorative practice, and peer support. And then we also are very involved in policy. Take-home naloxone and drug MDHS standing orders were previously not something that people were aware of. A lot of people didn't know how simple naloxone training is. We actually can do the training within 15 minutes with anybody. And then we also do surveillance. So we get the data and make sure it's reported accordingly. So the dimensions of behavioral health, there are several dimensions of wellness. They affect our social, physical, spiritual, occupational, intellectual, environmental, and financial elements of our life. Adverse childhood experiences deal with abuse and neglect and just household challenges in general. This is our team. We span a wide variety of backgrounds. We have peer peer support team, so people who are actually impacted by substance abuse within their own life. We have people who have been injured violently who perform outreach services. And then, like I said before, we partner with various organizations throughout the city to provide these services. So some of the services that we actually provide, we do free and virtual in-person training. Free virtual and in-personal training, that cover trauma-informed training, screening and counseling, case management and referrals, crisis response, health equity and literacy, and then data and surveillance. Bridging the Gap is provided through one of our partners, Class Agency, which is situated right in District 1. So they are a wonderful partner. And on the next slide, I think we have a QR code. If you have your cell phone, you can actually scan that and get a list of all of our trainings, which is right up here. And then you can actually register for our trainings. Okay. And so the other thing is, if we have a training that you see that doesn't work with your schedule, you can contact us if you have a group or a block club or anything like that that wants us to bring our training to them or do a virtual training. We would be more than happy to schedule that with you. So all of our programs are age diverse and inclusive. It doesn't matter if you have a disability. It doesn't really matter what your age is. We provide expressive arts, movement therapy, peer support groups, health ambassadors, digital storytelling, and media and collaborative events. We're almost at every event that the city has, almost every event. So we pass out, like I said, we pass out the naloxone kits. We do actual on-the-site training at some of these events. It doesn't cost anything. We just want to make sure as many people are trained as possible in these areas. So these are some of the various events that we have done throughout this year, and we've done a lot more than that. And again, these are all of our partners as well. So now Calvin is going to talk about mental health science and resources for help.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Calvin Evans, and I'm the health equity strategist for the behavioral health team of the Detroit Health Department. It sounds really fancy, but it really isn't. What I'm here to to share with you all is the kind of broad range of the work that we do in behavioral health. As Essence expressed, there's like 4 components of behavioral health that we actually look at. That's harm reduction, injury prevention and intervention. So prevention and intervention. Also mental health and OUDs and SUDs. So harm reduction is our way of focusing on how to look at the population and people in which we service from an asset lens as opposed to a deficit lens. So I just wanted to share that before I go off into the statistics. And as we see in the state of Michigan, when we're dealing with suicide, what we're dealing with is in all statistical categories from the age to 10 to 64, we are in the top 10 in the leading cause of death when it comes to suicide. And we even are 17th with individuals that are 65 years or over. Can I get the next slide, please? I'm not like a slidey kind of person. I'm just not. I'm not technical. This is actually things that I've actually experienced in my life. So I like to talk about it from my actual experience, whether from a PowerPoint, my experiential wealth. I was suicidal. Dang, that made me pause because I said I was suicidal. And I wonder, in my healing, have I got beyond that yet, right? So that made me pause, apologize for that. But these are some of the warning signs that we think of when we're talking about suicide, just so that everyone can be aware of some of the points that we need to be looking for with individuals that are facing contemplation of suicide. They are very blunt. They talk about killing themselves. They have a feeling of hopeless, have no reason to live, being a burden to others, feeling trapped unbearable, and you have like this unbearable pain. Next slide, please. Behaviors, what they might do. Increased use of alcohol and drugs. I was talking to a young man, and we was talking about prevention and intervention, and one of the ways that we can deal with the ODUs and the SUDs that we're facing with our young men and women in our community that is creating a lot of violent trauma. And he told me that we got to find a better way to grieve. That's what he said. We got to find a better way to grieve. So a lot of grieving is in the alcohol and the drug uses. Looking for ways to end their lives, such as searching online for methods. These are other forms: isolating from family and friends, visiting or calling people to say goodbye, giving away prized possessions, like things that are really near and dear to you, giving them away. Next slide, please. Mood, what you might see: depression, irritability, humiliation, shame, agitation, anger, relief, and sudden improvement. Next slide, please. Here's a definition for depression, so we can get a better look at what depression actually is from a technical lens. Depression negatively affects how you feel, the way you think, and how you act. It causes feelings of sadness and or a loss of interest in activities once enjoyed. It can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems and can decrease a person's ability to function at work and at home. Next slide, please. Again, here are some of the numbers. Depression is the leading cause of disability in the United States. 17.7 million number of Americans who are experiencing depression each year, and 35% of adults who do not receive treatment. 35% of the people do not receive treatment for depression. So a lot of depression is gone unaddressed, untreated, if you will. Signs of distress and warning signs: feeling sad or having a depressing mood, loss of interest or pleasure in activities once enjoyed, change in appetite, weight loss or gain unrelated to diet, trouble sleeping or sleeping too much, loss of energy or increased fatigue, increased in purposeless physical activity, hand wearing or pacing, like I'm doing now, a slow movement of speech, actions observable by others, feeling worthless or guilty, difficult thinking, concentrating on making a decision, thoughts of death or suicide. So I told y'all I'm in my healing, like I really am in my healing. And this is what actually helped me to heal my community, the support from my community. So a lot of my work with the behavioral health team is to connect people with the actual information, the actual resources, so that we can have a voice in our actual healing. And also so that I can social signal to those who are experiencing some of the things that I'm experiencing, that we can stand up and be proud of who it is that we are. The whole world is healing. It ain't just us. And our voice has to be present in our healing. How to cope: talk to friends and family, listen to music, engage in hobbies, meditation, talking to trusted persons, fitness, exercise. And that's a good one. I was locked up, all I did is exercise, weight pit. Writing and journaling, other activities that bring joy, talking to a therapist, psychologist, or social work. So those are some of the signs, those are some of the symptoms, those are some of the ways that we can provide an understanding of what's happening with some people, as opposed to like putting a negative connotation. Something is going on. We need to quit looking at each other from a negative lens, look at it from an asset lens, so that we can truly be an asset to one another. You know, the human thing to do is always the humane thing. So we got to get back to that. Here are a number of resources that we provide you at the health department with regards to suicide prevention and awareness. I am a certified QPR trainer. I'm a master trainer. I train the trainers. And QPR is question, persuade, and refer. It actually provides an individuals an opportunity to be educated in that realm, so that we can tackle this issue. I think education is the way that we solve. I'll give it back to Essence. Clint, finish us up.
So thank you, Calvin.
If I could have you guys take away anything from just our presentation is to number one, whoever you are, no matter where you are, please, please, please get naloxone training. You are very, very likely to encounter someone in any facet of your life who overdoses. And this training can prevent their death. Like it's real life, it's really that important. And we provide that training as well as the kits for free. Also, in terms of behavioral health and mental health and suicide prevention, please get the QPR training. That training is for anyone. Like Calvin said, he's a master training in it, and it's a master trainer in it, and it's another training that we offer that is absolutely free. When you ask people who have attempted suicide or had thoughts of suicide, one of the main preventing factors is just someone asking what was wrong. So if you could be that person for them, recognizing those symptoms and those signs, you don't have to be a professional. When it comes to trauma, one of the main ways that people overcome trauma is through resilience. You can provide resilience to someone. So please, please, please take those two trainings. And thank you for having us today.
Don't leave, don't leave. We got 2 mics for you. I think we might be able to grab these for you, because I know we're going to have some questions. I have 2 of them right now. So I know that there's a national suicide hotline. I don't know if we had a chance to talk about that, 988. If you can talk about the 988 hotline. In addition to that, I know that many times, nowadays people document everything. And it's not just adults, of course, it's children. And social media plays a role in that documentation. And can you talk a little bit about the parents' responsibility, or what you would recommend to a parent who has a child who utilizes social media? So those 2 things.
So as I'm going to speak directly as a parent myself. I am a parent of 4 children from age 7 to 19. Even though my son is away now, a sophomore in college at Michigan Tech, I still monitor his social media use. I monitor his phones through an app. I monitor all of their phones through an app because I want to know for me if they are showing any signs of distress. So there are a number of apps that parents can download and use to monitor their child's, not only their social media usage, but how they're using their technology in general. So I would really encourage parents to take advantage of that, not necessarily to spy on their kids or to be in their business, but be in their business because you need to know what they're doing. A lot of parents issue a phone or issue a tablet and don't really pay attention. Oh, they're just on YouTube. Oh, they're just, making TikTok videos. But some of the content that they're seeing, and it may not necessarily even have been on their mind before, but those cues and those signals can infiltrate their minds and really cause them to do things that are outside of their character. So I strongly suggest, just from, not even as a professional, but as a parent myself, to be in tune with the things that your child, and even your adolescents and young adults, because we know the frontal lobe is not fully developed until the age of 25. So just be in tune to what they're doing and the things that they're going through. Have conversations. Talk to them not just about what happened during their school day, but what's really going on with their life.
And to add to what Essence said, like I say, I go back to the harm reduction framework. Like, it's asset framing. So a lot of times that we have our young men and women who are experiencing these things, a lot of the problem is that they don't feel supported. They don't feel like they can share. So it's a self-esteem issue on top of the pressure. So it's trauma that, that is comprising like a Molotov cocktail. So we want to not look at things from a deficit lens when people are experiencing these things. So that's what the harm reduction portion of it is about. And harm reduction is just like putting a seatbelt on. You get in your car, you put a seatbelt on, and the reason why you put the seatbelt on, because it lessens the chances of you getting injured. So that is the same way with communicating with individuals who are experiencing, suicidal tendencies.
Also, make sure that feelings are normal. Normalize
the expression of feelings when it comes to youth and adolescents. They hold so much stuff inside. I know as a child, I was always taught kids are meant to be seen and not heard.
And we got that.
Yeah. Yeah, kids are meant to be seen and heard, and they need safe places where they can express both their feelings.
All right. So it looks like we did have a number of questions here. We're going to go to our remote folks first, because we want to make sure we show them some love.
Thank you. One of our Zoom panelists wants to know, why aren't there PSAs on the media?
So the behavioral health team, that is one of the things that we are now working on. I've been with that's one of our strategies, to take people who are like us, who are actually experiencing it, and actually creating campaigns around that. So we are the behavioral health team, the 313 HOPE team. We are in the process, and we will ask anybody who is interested in getting involved in that project to please contact us via our social media, just direct, through Instagram or whatever. But we are in the process of creating a campaign around QPR. That's what happened. That came out of this Awareness Month. We need to create a social media campaign, a mass marketing campaign.
All right. We're going to go to in person. I think I saw a hand here. Yes, ma'am.
Excellent presentation. I want to thank you both. But I need your names so I can contact you for our association presentations.
Okay.
I didn't get it on there.
We can go back to the beginning. Is that
The slide, I think it's at the end.
at the end? At the end? Okay,
Yeah,
let's
with
see.
the contact information. So it's 313 HOPE in general. I mean, if you want my contact information, I can give it to you. Or Calvin can give his. We're all accessible.
And we all do all things: case management, documentation, outreach. So you get anyone, you get everybody.
Yeah.
One-stop shop.
One-stop shop.
All right. We've got one over here.
Good morning. My question was, well, I think you kind of answered it in the beginning. I was asking, is there like any social media toolkits or graphics that's already created so we can spread awareness within our network? Because I'm in the millennial range, and sometimes a lot of people, I see a lot of message, and they're saying when they're feeling depressed or they're going through something, and so sometimes they want the support and resources from the community. You talked about that healing aspect, but sometimes it gets caught up into this, I like to call, providing them like actual resources besides saying, I'm praying for you, but saying you may need to go see some professional help, or here are some strategies to resolve that. And so I think sometimes, so I guess my question was, do you have like those things ready, or like sharing from your social media?
So yes, 313 HOPE has Facebook, Instagram, we have Twitter, and YouTube, and we are very, very active across all of those platforms. So just at 313 HOPE Detroit. Okay. All of our graphics are posted on all of our social media as well as our website through the city of Detroit.
And one of our community partners that does that as well is Caleb's Kids. You probably, they do a great job, especially with the youth, and providing resources. Caleb's Kids, that is. They're one of our community partners, because the barriers, we try to take them away. We want to get to people who are doing the work, actually.
We got another one here.
So as I grew up in Detroit, we're taught what happens in our house stays in our house. And the thing about it was like, the Judson Center helped me when my parents went through their drugs struggle. Do you have help for the youth and also adolescents and adults? Because, this is something like it's embedded in you if you got traumatized by it. Mm-hmm. So do you have the services that I may not be depressed or not feeling depressed at this time, but I may need to just seek services to deal with my mother on the weekend or deal with somebody else on the weekend with the issues?
Yes. So we actually partner with the Youth Connection. They actually have a wonderful program called Strengthening Families, which we are very well integrated with, and we support continuously to address some of those barriers that you just mentioned. Like all of us growing up in the city of Detroit, pretty much, we have been taught that things that stay in the house, go on in the house, stay in the house. That program actually is wonderful because it addresses the whole family. So all the parents, all the children are part of this program, and they learn, how to talk about their feelings, talk about different situations. They have actual, family, they learn how to do family meetings where the kids, make suggestions about things, and the parents, really get a chance to hear what their children are needing and what they want. And it's a training for the whole family. So we do have programs like that through our partners.
And a number of our staff is trained in strengthening families that can come out and do the trainings for others as well.
Yeah.
All right, we've got one here, and that'll be our last question before we go to the next segment.
Calvin?
Yes, sir.
Sean, I just wanted to thank you for sharing your story and doing what you're doing. As somebody, I was 12 years old when my father took his own life. And so I've experienced at 41 years of peeling back layers of what that meant in a secondary level. And always wondered, what might be different, if he connected the resources and heard stories like the one that you're sharing, and particularly the resilience, that you're showing, and how you're being so fruitful with what you're doing and the decision that you made to be here. So I appreciate you and everybody else on your team who have walked that similar path as doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thank you.
Our final question, comment.
I just was unsure if you guys did home visits or you had to go to the facility to do like a family therapy.
So we have been very intentional in our program. We bring the resources to where you are. We don't even have a dedicated office space. We are in the community. We are embedded in the community. That is actually very intentional on our part. From the staff that we chose to the people who are actually doing the work. We wanted people who know the people and what they're experiencing.
Antoine Green is one of our health commanders, and he actually are one of the individuals that actually go out into the community and deal with the community, find out what's going on, bring it back to us, and we rally up as a team. Let's go get it.
Can I ask a question?
You absolutely can ask the question, Ms. District Manager Lady Yu.
Thank you. So we had a meeting Thursday. We had a meeting Thursday, and we had a question about when trauma happens and it's experienced or expressed in schools. So since we're the city of Detroit, how are we connecting with DPSCD when children are experiencing everything that we're experiencing, but no adult is really reaching out to them?
Good question.
Good question. So as of right now, we haven't really partnered with DPSCD as of yet, but that is one of the next steps for us specifically, because we noticed the need for those services within the city of Detroit.
So, and there's actually two parts of it, right? Because Youth Connection does go into Osborne, into Persian, right? But we're talking about citywide work. Youth Connect is doing 48205 work in that area, and so a lot of the work is being broken down into a segment, so the resources are being broken down in that way. We do citywide work. We bring the resources to you wherever it is that you are. So that's the development part. How can we take this and bring it citywide? Because there's only a few of us that are doing it authentically.
Only a few of us.
All right, y'all give it up for Ms. Essence Yuki as well as Mr. Calvin Evans. Thank you. Great information. And you guys are stick around. He said they ain't going nowhere. So if you have any additional questions, I saw some hands, but we've got to go to the next segment because we're definitely going to be losing a very important person very soon, and want to have time for us to honor her time. So we're going to talk about now the closed, abandoned schools in District 1. Many of you, we hear it all the time. What are you going to do about those schools? The schools are a drain in the neighborhood. It's not how my neighborhood was when the school was open. Now it's different. It's changed. And so I want to bring forward none other than Mr. Antoine Bryant. He is the Director of Planning and Development for the City of Detroit. All right, yeah, there you go. Mr. Garrick Landsberg, he is the licensed architect. Oh, let me do it the right way. Mr. Garrick Landsberg, he's the Director of Historic Preservation with the City of Detroit in the Planning Department. Ms. Jennifer Ross, she's a project manager and architect historian with the City of Detroit. And last but absolutely not least, Ms. Michonne Jackson. She is the Assistant Superintendent Operations with Detroit Public Schools Community District. Y'all give it up, give it up, give it up! You guys come here. Do we have the chairs up front, gentlemen, for everybody? All right. So, Ms. Jackson, I know you've got a real tight schedule today, and you've got to get out of here soon. So I don't want you to. I don't want the folks to miss an opportunity to have a chance to engage with you and give you an opportunity to talk just a little bit. So before I go through the whole PowerPoint and all that good stuff, I want to give you a chance to just talk about what DPSCD is contemplating with this particular study. Just so, let me frame it. So the City of Detroit and as well as Detroit Public Schools District, a community district, combined our efforts to address the concerns that all of us have from the city side as well. What are we going to do with these abandoned school buildings? And it was a survey that was conducted by an entity, and it cost about $800,000. And because it costs $800,000, we're going to make sure we put it to good use. And so recently we received the results of that particular survey that would tell the city, tell DPSCD, give some idea of how to best utilize that property, that land. Is it being put back into productive use? Or is the building so bad structurally at this point that the best recommendation is demolition? And what will spring out as a result of that? And so, again, we'll have a PowerPoint presentation, all that good stuff, but I want to make sure that we honor Ms. Jackson's time when she's here. If you can please just talk a little bit about what the Detroit Public Schools Community District is contemplating for the various properties that are within District 1. I know you got to talk at a high level because you got some other concerns you have to deal with, but just talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to ask you about Cooley as well, Cooley High School.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pro Tem Tate, for the invitation and for your kind staff with allowing me to be here today. I have a vested interest in this district. My daughter, my son-in-law, and my grandbaby live not too far from here. And so I'm really honored to be here to talk to you about the district's collaboration with the city over the past few years, and then specifically what we're doing in terms of our facility master plan. I know we're going to talk more heavily about the survey and the study that was conducted, I think a couple of years ago now. But let me just kind of share from the district standpoint what we're doing with our buildings overall. So we do have about less than 30 vacant buildings now throughout the entire city. And with those vacant buildings, we did partner with the city to conduct a study to determine the best uses of those facilities. If they could be used for housing, if they could be used for community services, or quite frankly, if they should be demolished based on the structural integrity of the building. And since that time, we have also, our board has also mandated that we complete additional studies on our buildings to determine best use, because we started that partnership before COVID. And we know now many organizations do not have the same need for office space, et cetera, as they did at the time of that study. And so our board has recommended, before we even contemplate disposing of property, that we first need to complete a feasibility analysis over and beyond what was conducted a couple of years ago. After we conduct the feasibility study or the analysis based on inquiries from community members, neighbors, et cetera, like those assembled this morning, then we can offer the property for sale through an RFP process. And to Pro Tem Tate's point, we can't speak at a specific level about Cooley this morning because there is an active RFP for Cooley. The RFP closed on Friday, and now our team, led by my colleague Gregory Hurst, who's in the audience, is going through the evaluation process. And we want to protect that process with not speaking too deeply about it. But I can share, per our board policy, what we are looking for when we contemplate to whom buildings should be sold. It should also be noted that In addition to contemplating whether buildings should be sold, we determine should we keep those buildings as a district building with the hope that once population begins to increase again, then we can offer some type of service to the community, but it is our responsibility to keep those buildings sound in terms of their integrity, et cetera. So just from the board policy, I'll read what we're looking for when applicants respond to our RFPs. First of all, financial feasibility. We've heard a lot of conversation over the past year of individuals who are interested in district property, but we have to ensure that just because they're interested, that they do have the funds or the ability to raise funds within a short period of time to complete the renovations that are needed for the property. So if we are going to sell property, we're not selling property with the expectation that it continues to be vacant. The individuals, corporations, companies, et cetera, must aggressively move forward with a renovation strategy in order to help renovate and revise the community. Secondly, we're also looking for partners who are trying to create jobs. Either they're trying to create jobs by what they're going to place in that vacant property, or they're very intentional of hiring architects, community members, et cetera, who are responsible for renovating the property, who are city residents, who may hire city residents, or the companies that actually are placed in the city. We also look at the creation of housing or opportunities that directly support families, just as the two presentations we heard, whether it's an extension of expungement programs that can be placed in these former schools, or I heard the other presenters mention that they're out in the streets and they don't have a home. Well, maybe they might want to, or any other organizations that they partner with, they decide that they want to have some type of mixed-use space in a former school so that they're directly in the community that's being impacted by their services. We also want to ensure that the applicants or people who are interested have a deep commitment to eliminating blight. As you can imagine, with just short of 30 properties, vacant properties, it is very challenging once we, as the district, with limited funds, clean a property that has fallen victim to blight. Not long thereafter, unfortunately, somebody's people, not y'all's people, but somebody's people, they then take advantage of that vacant land and they dump again. And so we want to ensure that whomever we're partnering with, that they have a robust plan of renovation that is not, again, going to leave that property vacant for an extended period of time, which allows continued blight opportunities. And then lastly, I will say we're looking at potential purchasers who have a strong likelihood of obtaining the permits and ordinances or complying with the ordinances that govern that particular community. If there's a vacant school that's nestled deep in a community, then we don't want a factory built there, right? We want to preserve the quietness of that particular neighborhood. And so, in short, we have 4 vacant properties that are in District 1. We are aggressively moving forward with determining to whom one of those properties should be sold, if in fact they will be sold. That recommendation will be given to our superintendent, and then thereafter it's given to our school board. There is another property, unfortunately, this summer, I will say in closing, that fell victim to a fire. And we are working with the city's building department to determine the structural integrity of the building. If that building is determined through their analysis to be structurally unsound, then we will work with the city to immediately demolish that property. It does take a little bit of time, but we anticipate moving forward with that, as well as making a recommendation for the one property that is up for sale through an RFP within the next 8 weeks.
All right, Assistant Superintendent Jackson, how much time? I know you said you had to get out of here. You got a few minutes? If
Yes,
you don't,
sir.
I understand.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're going to definitely get to the rest of the panel, but we want to make sure, because she's got to get out of here, and she's already been very generous with her time. Any questions for the assistant superintendent before we go to our other dubious presenters? All right, got one for you. Now, don't y'all be asking me all these questions when I come to your neighborhood, and you got it right here. Stop playing. She says, I have a list.
I wanted to know if there was any projection for Burt Elementary School.
For which school, ma'am?
Burt.
For Burt Elementary School. So Burt Elementary School is not, it's not the district's, that's city-owned property. So I defer to my colleagues, my dubious colleagues.
Yeah. So some of you don't know. I mean, you don't know the difference, who owns whose property. There's some properties, I believe that's about 4, correct me if I'm wrong, is it 4?
They're 4.
It's the city, yep. The city owns 6 properties within District 1. DPSCD owns 4 in District 1. The land bank owns 2 of those schools in District 1. And the DBA, which is known as the Detroit Building Authority, I think there are 2. There are 2? They have 1. So there's a mixture of properties, and a number of years ago, the reason why the city of Detroit came in possession of these properties, there was a debt that Detroit Public Schools owed to the city of Detroit. DPS couldn't pay that debt. City of Detroit said, okay, well, we would like to enter into an agreement with you where we would take over these particular properties because it's becoming a blight within the community, and we want to do something with it and put it into productive use, or again, to demolish it. And that, again, is how the city of Detroit and the various entities obtained within the city, the land bank as well as the building authority, obtained those properties from DPS, now DPSCD. Karen?
Yes, one of our Zoom panelists wants to know, what is the status of the Holcomb School project?
Yep, so that one is city of Detroit as well, so that's coming. So
that's coming.
That's
Thank you so much.
All right. So you have one about DPSC, one of the properties? All right.
Is there any savings to saving the buildings as opposed to going new? What is the square footage price per?
So the square footage price for renovation, yeah, it's really high right now, and it's really high. We've seen dramatic escalation in all of our construction and renovation projects. What I did not mention is with all of our buildings that still remain district property that are vacant, we've spent over $1 million securing those properties over the past 3. It's well over $1 million securing those properties over the past year. And we have a very generous budget of tens of thousands of dollars to attend to blight with those properties each year. In terms of renovation, our renovation costs right now are running between $350 to $400 per square foot. It's really high. It's really high. And so when we look at the feasibility in terms of, again, can whomever who's interested in the properties, can they afford it? We look at the runway of time that is needed because, you know, the average person doesn't know what time frame it takes for actual construction, how long it takes to procure the equipment, if they need to put in new electrical equipment, how long does it take to get that? Right now, we're running at about 80 weeks to get electrical equipment, and you have to pay for it up front. Also,
and paying more.
Mechanical, I'm sorry.
And you're paying more now.
And we're paying more, and we're paying more. And then, you know, HVAC equipment, et cetera. And because these buildings have sat so long, there's abatement that's required, meaning, you know, because the buildings are older, there was some asbestos-containing material, which we have to get rid of that before we can move forward with construction. So, in short, renovation, between $350 and $400 a square foot.
All right. So, and we're not going to go through this whole PowerPoint because we are already into the discussion right now. So I want to, again, show the love that we need to show to Assistant Superintendent Jackson for being here. Are you going to stick around just a little bit longer?
I will.
Oh, look at that. All right. Yeah, give it up. But we've also been graced by the director of the planning department. So, I mean, we got the heavyweight here today. 25 years in design and architectural empowerment and development and design within the nation. So he's worked in Galveston, Texas, Rhode Island, Oakland, California, Also in Belize, I think, right? There was something he did over there as well, right? So it's not a native she's not a native Detroiter, but he lives here now. Got his family actually living right here in the city of Detroit. So he's vested, he's here, and he's ours, and you ain't going nowhere else. And we're glad to have you. Mr. Director Antoine Bryant. And we have sitting next to him is Ms. Jennifer Ross. She's the one who's actually the project manager over that particular study that we're talking about here. And we also, as mentioned, have Mr. Lunsberg, who is part of the historic portion of the planning department. So, Director, can you talk to us a little bit about, what is the city? I mean, though, we have some of those properties that are in the DPSCD's inventory, but we got DBA, Land Bank Authority, Planning Department. You kind of oversee all of that, in terms of like the vision at least of where we're going to be going with these particular projects. Can you talk a little bit about what has been discussed thus far?
I'll give a table setting. Thank you, Councilmember Pro Tem. We appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank our partner, Assistant Superintendent Jackson, who had to open the door in the conversation. So she answered a lot of the things that we were going to address. The Planning Department really did an exhaustive study, finished about a year and a half ago, led by the two to my left, looking at the inventory of school buildings across the city. And one of the things that, and they'll go into depth about the nature of that study, we really respect the tremendous value that each of these buildings typically have in the communities. They are institutions that are far outlast just housing and teaching of children across the city. And so we understand the value that they may have even when they're underutilized. And so that was one of the reasons, one of the primary reasons to undertake this study, to really understand what the capacity of each one of those buildings are. Our stance on them, and they'll go into the situation about how some of them are under the purview specifically of DPSCD. Some of them are currently owned by the city of Detroit and under the auspices of our office and Planning and Development Department. And one of the things that we want to know and let everyone know is that it's our vision that the community should have a tremendous say in what happens in those facilities. The ones that are owned by the city, we don't engage right now, and they'll tell you about that. So we don't have plans for the buildings. So I want to make sure that's understood, right? So there's not a situation where the buildings, the school buildings that are under the purview of Planning and Development Department, we have a definitive, we're going to do this with this building and that with that building, right? So I want to allay any concerns that may exist on that. We really did an architectural analysis, right? This is what's happening with your systems. This is what's happening with the structural integrity. This is what's happening with any kind of abatement issues. We have that, and it's actually pretty exhaustive. And it is available to the public as well. So it's not a secret report. You can access it online as well. But I do want to kind of lay that entree. I will be here for the breadth of the meeting if people have other questions. But I want to pass it on to Ms. Ross. She was actually the project manager for the entire study. And of course, our director for historic preservation, Mr. Landsberg, who helped oversee that entire process. Cool. There we go.
Thanks, Director Bryant. I am Garrick Landsberg, and I'm privileged to serve as your Director of Historic Preservation in the Planning Department. We're really happy and excited, actually, to be here in public, in the community, to finally talk about this study. This is actually the first opportunity we've had to do that. Obviously, the study kind of reached its zenith during the COVID epidemic, and we were not able to do a lot of the community engagement that we really wanted to do while the consultant was on board. One of the results of that change was the website that's been discussed here a couple times. And if you have access to a mobile device right now, you might want to check it out. It's afterschooldetroit.com. And that website is a community engagement tool that the consultant and the city's team put together to reach out to the development community, the neighbors of all these buildings, to really discuss, share, and think about what, as Director Bryant said, what should be the future of these important properties. And these school properties, one of the reasons that this study began is that these properties are the historic hearts of our neighborhoods in many cases. They are hugely important properties. And it was very important to the city and the planning department to get a comprehensive overview of all of the buildings citywide in all the districts, 39 city-owned buildings. And the project was sort of developed to create this assessment, this survey, this study of the viability of all these buildings. so that the planning department, working with the community, could have a basis, a consistent basis to make decisions going forward. And so that's really where the study came from a couple years ago. So now we have the results. And if you look on the After School Detroit website, you'll actually be able to see the market analysis for the properties, the structural integrity, thousands of photographs of the interior condition. There's a lot here. There, as been mentioned already, architects, structural engineers have gone through these buildings and really done a lot of the work necessary for potential purchasers or redevelopers of these buildings to actually make sound decisions on their futures. That's something we want to highlight. On the division between the DPS-CD properties and the city properties, which is important to recognize, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Ross in a second. 39 city-owned properties citywide in the study, 24 DPS-CD properties. And a few years ago, as this study was coming together, we had this amazing opportunity to add the DPS-CD properties to our study to actually take advantage of the fact that we already had these architects, structural engineers, and other professional staff on the ground. And all those properties could be folded in as well. And so that data, because it went directly to DPS-CD, is not on the website. You can find it on the After School Detroit website. You can find it in the PDF on the planning department's website, though. So the city's planning department is not making any recommendations around the DPS-CD properties. But as has already been mentioned, the city-owned properties in District 1 include Burt on Pilgrim, Detroit Open School on Frisbee, Healy on West Parkway, Holcomb on Bentler, and Hubert on Lamphere. And so there's a consistent basis of information online that we're going to start with. And if you've been able to access the website, there's even this facility for neighbors to leave comments, even leave photos about these buildings, and actually talk about their future with the planning department and with potential developers. Ms. Ross?
Thank you, Mr. Landsberg and Director Bryant. So I'm gonna just provide a few comments, and I think like the best kind of way to interact or move forward is really flipping through the website, through the presentation, and then taking any questions that the audience has, because the website has a lot of information. And this study was pretty big, pretty broad. But just to note, and really to focus on District 1 schools. So as Director Landsberg noted, you've got 5 schools, Holcomb, Burt, Healy, Detroit Open, and Hubert. And I guess just like kind of backing up in terms of talking about how the survey team went about doing the study and really looking at these buildings and determining or making recommendations around like their best potential adaptive reuse scenarios. So essentially we were looking at these buildings and looking at 3 things, and I'll just kind of boil it down. We were looking at the property characteristics. So looking at the buildings itself and then looking at the site. And then when you're talking about building characteristics, you're talking about like going inside of the building, understanding, is it a 1-story or 2-story building? What's the square footage? How high are the ceilings? Besides the classrooms, what other like large kind of public rooms are available inside of these schools that could be repurposed for interesting uses? So like cafeterias or gyms, a room like this. So we're looking at those kind of pieces of the buildings. Then we look at the characteristic of the site. How big is the site? How many acres? Do you have parking? If you have your parking and you've got your building and then you have a bunch of additional acreage, what could be done with that? Could it be a park? Could it be some sort of amenity for the public? So we started by looking at that. And then we looked at the location. So that comes into doing the market analysis. What does the neighborhood need based on market research? Are we looking for, do you need more housing? Do you need more office space? Do you need more retail? So we looked at that. And then of course, so when you take those 2 pieces, the building's kind of characteristics, You look at the location, what does the location need? Then you start to begin to understand what type of potential uses can go in that building. Then the third and really big piece is condition. So then that gets into, based on the conditions, how much is it going to cost for me to rehab these buildings, to house these uses that these buildings are really like, could support. So just in a nutshell, we kind of put all those together. And we didn't really necessarily rank the buildings per se, because if you step back and you look at these wonderful buildings, you look at the wonderful history behind these buildings, what they mean to the neighborhood, we started off with the idea of these buildings will obviously some would likely end up being demolished based on condition. But we really looked at it from the perspective of how do we start by, rather than looking at these buildings as blight, how do we look at these buildings as a potential like benefit? What can they bring to the neighborhood? So the website is great because like all that data that the architects, our market analysis, and like analyst folks, our structural engineers, these highly talented folks, collected on these buildings, put it together. We created this website so that not only can folks in the neighborhood, somebody next door, when they're seeing this kind of hulking, boarded up building, you don't have to go inside of the building now. You've got all that information available so you can understand what's the condition, what are the best possible uses, and you know, most importantly, like what is it going to cost to rehab this thing? So we've got the ability for the neighbor next door to understand that, and then somebody in California to understand that, because we've got this really great website. So it's not a report that PDD generated and is going to like kind of sit on somebody's shelf or sit as a doorstop. This is like information that's readily available for everybody in the world. The community is the world now, to understand the great resources that this city has, and to start beginning to think and have ideas on what can we do to repurpose these buildings. I'm not sure if,
All right.
yeah, anybody
We
has-
appreciate all that great information. Y'all give it up one more time. And we're going to open up for questions. I know we have one major question on, I think it's Facebook I saw.
They came via Facebook and Zoom.
Okay. Yeah, I knew this was going to be a big one.
Great to hear of long-term plans for these deteriorating buildings and properties, but I live on the same block as Hubert, and the property is a mess. Falling trees, ragged grass, weeds galore. No one- Not to mention frequently unsecured, dangerous buildings. This is a neighborhood hazard now. What are your plans to address problems like this in the short term?
Hubert? Okay.
Yes,
So-
Hubert was the school, yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the question. We greatly appreciate it. We thank you for using all the media available, so we make sure we got the question in. These kinds of concerns, our partner departments, BSEED, would address some of the remediation and cleanliness issues, right? So it's good to know where the concerns are. Our director there could not make it, but I will make sure we can get that messaging on to him, so they are able to address some of those challenges, both from security as well as for overgrown activity there. So we'll transmit that message and get it addressed.
All right. Do we have another on Facebook? Zoom? Twitter? All right. So we have any from the audience? Any questions from the audience regarding these schools in D1? All right, so now I just want to make sure that folks hear it clearly. So the survey has been completed, and we get the calls all the time. Any idea when these projects or whatever's going to happen with these particular properties, just so they can hear it again very clearly, any idea when there'll be some movement on these particular projects?
I can speak for ours. So our 4 properties that lie in District 1 that are vacant are Learned, Lodge, Yost, and Cooley. And most recently, Yost fell victim to fire. And so we're working with the BC department so that we can obtain a structural integrity report to determine if it needs to be immediately demolished or if we're just focusing on one part of the building. We expect that in less than 8 weeks. Our other property that is of great interest is Cooley. It's in an active RFP process, and we anticipate presenting that to the board in November in terms of a recommendation for sale. The other 2 properties will continue to be maintained until someone, some group, et cetera, expresses interest, and then we'll complete another analysis which layers over and beyond the analysis that was previously completed, and then after that, we'll move forward with an RFP process.
So I could start, somebody had asked a question about the status of Holcomb, for instance. So one thing I can speak to that property about. So the City of Detroit Housing Revitalization Department did put out an RFP on adaptive reuse of that school. A developer has been selected, and that developer is Communities First. And so right now, Communities First is looking at doing a adaptive reuse, which would include 23 affordable units, so 23 units, all affordable, and there will also be an early childhood center in that building. And then in terms of the percentage, the affordability, the AMI, they're looking at 50 to 60%, so really great level of affordability with that property. So because of the condition of these buildings, and the amount of frankly, the amount of resources that, have to go into rehabbing these properties and getting them online, unfortunately, it's a long process. It's a kind of a drawn-out process. But that school is definitely kind of well underway in the process and moving it towards being rehabbed. We've got Burt School, which is also, it's in an S&F area. So that's kind of in a really good location and has a really good potential, high potential for rehab. Another school that we've gotten a lot of inquiries and interest around would be the Healy School. That one it's really great because it's got a pretty small footprint, so you're not dealing with a gigantic 100,000 square foot building. It's about 16,000 square feet. It was one of the schools that sat in the best condition. So it was it's not too much of a heavy lift on that property, and we've, over the past year and a half, gotten maybe 3 or 4 inquiries of interest on that property. Detroit Open and Hubert kind of sit in the condition, a little bit rough, a little bit more rough than the other 3. We haven't heard a lot of movement or interest in those schools, but as Director Bryant noted, any sort of, we're keeping the buildings boarded up, any sort of issues with dumping, et cetera, feel free to let us know. We'll loop that back to the building department and the Detroit Building Authority around keeping the areas mowed and boarded up.
I would also reinforce what the school district said about their own disposition process, is that there are sort of, and this is maybe a direct answer to your question, Councilman Pro Tem Tate, is that there's a steady stream of interest in the buildings, but there is certainly a lengthy due diligence process on the part of the city to understand the capacity of potential new owners for the buildings, so they do not yet again become a burden or prominent source of blight on the community. So there are a number of inquiries all the time across all of these buildings in our inventory and all these properties. And so the city, across various departments, has professionals looking at these offers and sort of moving them through the process. Similarly, and on the other side of the coin, obviously it's a priority of the administration to address prominent sources of blight in the community as they stand today. So they're based on condition, based on some of the results of this study, there are also discussions about some of these schools that will need to come down. So that is a process that is underway and will certainly be shared with the community and with the council.
Director?
Quick thing to add, you heard Ms. Ross talk about Holcomb and Burt are in S&F areas. For those that aren't familiar, the S&F is our Strategic Neighborhood Fund activity, and it was started by Mayor Duggan several years ago, where we identified essentially 10 areas around the city where we used a combination of private and philanthropic and public funds to do dramatic infrastructure and other developments in those areas. And what that has allowed us to do is really make some very targeted improvements in areas. And when you're able to really make adjustments and improvements in the context where a school lies, it makes that particular property that much more attractive as well. And so that really, those kinds of activities around Holcomb and Burt really do really substantially improve the opportunities and for another developer to come in. The developer must have some resources, right? Because these are going to be big lifts, no matter who does them. But it is something that we really do want to highlight. It does improve the options and opportunities for those two institutions.
All right, thank you. We've got a question over here.
Will there be restrictions on the either leased or sold schools? Restrictions as far as I bought this, I can tear it down. Restrictions as far as what has to be done with the land, this kind of thing. Also, you guys have, I'm sure you're aware of Life Remodeled and Durfee, I believe it was. But they didn't have to do a lot of abatement, I don't believe, over there, because the condition of the school wasn't as bad as a lot of the ones we're looking at right now. I think that is something that could be useful to all the communities that are around these schools, but is probably, I feel like the abatement that you're going to have to do in all these schools when you're gutting it is going to be ridiculous. But when you have I mean, we're on asbestos. That's asbestos. This is asbestos. Everything around us is asbestos. We're around lead all the time, but when we get into a gut, the mortar has asbestos. I mean, everything has asbestos in it. I don't know what you do with these things besides tear them down. I guess that's a question, is what you would do to keep them up and how you get around these abatement costs. It's like, I think that's where you're at. You're talking about $1 million for one classroom at this point, right? I mean, that 2,000 square foot for a class, you're talking 500 a square foot. You're at about $1 million for each classroom. So what can you do with this? It doesn't add up to me.
Speaking as an architect, I'll touch on a couple of those issues. Certainly, in response to your first question, the city certainly enters into pretty specific development agreements around the future of any city-owned properties, not just schools, but any buildings that are sold. And the city holds developers and new owners to those development agreements. And there are only, because most of these buildings, of course, are in the hearts of residential neighborhoods, there are a fairly limited number of new uses or occupancies that can be accommodated by these buildings. The city council about 10 or 12 years ago passed the vacant school properties adaptive reuse ordinance, which allowed just a few more uses in the districts, but certainly no objectionable uses, heavy industry or anything like that. Just a little more density or things like that, just to give the buildings a few more options. In terms of your abatement questions, certainly one of the signal problems or challenges with this portfolio of buildings is that, with few exceptions, they've been open to trespass for a long time. Their roofs have failed. They've had really catastrophic water damage in many cases that has turned many of the interiors into really hazardous and deteriorating conditions. And so, yeah, that is certainly, in terms of ACM, asbestos-containing materials and other hazardous materials mitigation, that's always a challenge. Speaking, again, though, as an architect and historic preservationist, there are strategies that can be used and that we've seen successfully used in other historic properties in the city. It's a huge example, but you see Ford redeveloping the Michigan Central Depot. You see smaller commercial buildings on some of our commercial corridors around the city being redeveloped. All of these buildings and of course many of the residential buildings we live in here in the city do have these materials in them. But there are strategies short of demolition for sure. And so that it's a complicated process involving a lot of additional investigation and expertise. But I'm confident that the city is going to be able to see some of these redeveloped.
All right, I think we have a couple of questions on social media.
Thank you. Yes, I actually have two questions. First, thank you for addressing SNF because that was one of the questions. The other two Any updates on the former Vito Elementary School on the Westwood Street and Grandview Street and the Westwood Grandmont number 1 neighborhoods?
Vital.
That is us. That is us. So yes, I'm glad to say as a part of our facility master plan, we've recommended the reactivation of a couple of schools. VTOL is one of those schools to provide relief to Gumpers Elementary Middle School. And so we will invest tens of millions of dollars in the renovation of VTOL, and it should reopen within the next 5 to 7 years, based on construction lead times of how long it takes us to procure equipment. So we're very excited to renovate that property.
That's breaking news. That's a lot of folks have been asking about that property for a long time. Long time. Awesome, awesome. Got another question?
Yes. How many buildings or how much of the land will be going to Black Detroiters, and how much money is available to Black Detroiters to purchase either?
So how much of it is going to Black Detroiters? How many?
Yes, says, okay, how many buildings or how much of the land will be going to Black Detroiters, and how much money is available to Black Detroiters to purchase either?
So I'll work backwards. As far as resources available to Black Detroiters or Detroiters in general, we encourage all of our potential developers that are interested in pursuing the acquisition of land or schools or any kind of property. We have a couple of programs and partnerships with what's called the DEGC, the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation, as well as our Motor City Match program, which is available to entrepreneurs throughout the city. And so those are two of the ones that we aggressively forward to our native Detroiters here that want to do activities here in the city. As far as where the ones that are currently in our school purview and what they're being available to, as we noted, we bring in and we look at developers as they come in. So I can't definitively say, I don't think we're allowed by law, quite frankly, to say developer A, I will look at over developer B based upon ethnicity. So we're, I would strongly encourage if there are Black Detroiters interested in purchasing some of the school properties that are under the City of Detroit's purview to contact us and let's have a conversation. I'm not legally allowed to say only Black folk, but if you're interested, please let us know.
All right. Any additional questions? Anyone? See any hands? Anything on social media? Zoom? All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the conversation that we've been wanting to have for quite some time. Y'all give it up for Assistant Superintendent Jackson, Director Bryan, Mr. Lunsberg, as well as Ms. Ross from the Planning Department. Great job, y'all. Appreciate you. All right. You are now released. And thank you for giving us additional time. All right. So I just wanted to make sure, because we have one segment that I love, and I would love for her to be here. This is our youth spotlight. I just want to make sure she's not here. We have been talking to her, but didn't see her today. Miss Jada Harris, are you here? Jada? All right, we're going to get Jada at the next meeting. We now have, and I see a very familiar face here, Mr. Aaron Hall. Y'all give it up for Aaron Hall. Aaron Hall, say something to the folks, please.
Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Aaron Hall, former District 1 employee, Office of Councilman James Tate. I hope everyone's having a good afternoon and blessed day. This is also Aaron Hall II. Say hello.
How big he's gotten. Right. And it was your birthday yesterday as well, so happy belated, Yeah. All right, so I also want to give a shout out to Commissioner Monique Baker McCormick, who's here as well joining us. Commissioner, want to say a few words?
Good morning, afternoon, I think now. If I can help you with anything, feel free to reach out to my office. Again, I'm Wayne County Commissioner Monique Baker McCormick. The other thing, because of redistricting, part of my district has changed, has shifted into Redford Township. So I will also be representing, hopefully if elected in November, Redford Township. So thank you.
All right. Well, you are ours now, so we're going to make sure we keep and retain you here. All right. So, I want to get to the next segment. So, to tell you right now, I wanted to introduce to the community, as we always talk about, it's not just about city government stuff. We want to talk about the entire person, the whole community, right? What are the things that we need to know about that can help us live a longer life, a better life, sometimes a different life? But exposure helps. So today we want to expose you to vegan eating. Did I get a yes? All right. How many of you, any vegans in the room? All right, I guess. She said, no, but I eat this food, though. All right, okay, so we're going to go down the row. All right, so meat eaters in the room, raise your hand. Okay. All right, so pescatarians in the room, raise your hand. All right. She said semi, sort of, kind of, maybe, depending on what day it is, what restaurant. All right, so what about vegetarian? Any vegetarians in the room? Well, what about vegans? Any vegans in the room? I see a hand back there. All right, so that shows you that we have a mixture of folks in this room, and many of you you may have heard about veganism and vegetarian and all of those things, but we got some folks here who will be able to give you some information. Also, an entrepreneur, a business owner. She once had a pop-up here in District 1, but we're going to let her tell you about how to find out where she is now and all the great things she has to offer to the community. I would like to bring forward, and it's about a partnership as well that's taking place, with the organization PETA, JD's Vegan, and as well as our good friend Stella's Vegan Cuisine and Desserts. If we can please bring forward Miss Chantel Jones, the owner of Stella's, Miss Rachel Owen as well. All right. Okay, now y'all can clap. They got to wait till they come in. All right. Show them that love. Okay, we'll give you this mic, these two mics here, if you don't mind. And then we got a surprise for you outside. We got a surprise for you outside. Y'all like free stuff? Okay, we got free stuff. Free stuff.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chantel Jones. I'm the owner of Estella's Vegan Cuisine and Desserts, and so I opened up Detroit's first all-vegan bakery last October. I did a 9-month trial run in the Grand River Workplace, and so that went well, very successful, surpassed all my expectations, and so I am very fond of the Grandma Rosedale neighborhood, so we will be opening our permanent location in that space. I'm just working to raise capital. Right. So I was presented with the amazing opportunity to partner with PETA. This actually started last year. It just took a while to get, all the red tape and everything together. But we are here, and she's going to give you a lot more information as far as the organization, but just educating our communities on the benefits of plant-based eating. Everybody doesn't want to be vegetarian. Everybody doesn't want to go vegan, but just having more education on the benefits of more fruits and vegetables, and the better it is on your body, the better it is on the environment. So I'm going to pass it over to her, and she'll give you some more information.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's such an honor to be with everybody. I've been sitting watching all these amazing presentations, and it's just an honor to be here. So thank you so much to everyone who's doing this amazing work. My name is Rochelle Owen. I'm the Senior Director at People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, or PETA. I've been at PETA for 15 years, but I've never forgotten my roots. I was born and raised in the city of Detroit, just a few miles from here in Warrendale, and spent some time in the Grandmont Rosedale area as well. And I'm a proud graduate of Kosciuszko Elementary, which is unfortunately one of those vacant buildings that they just talked about. And going through the struggles that my family faced living in the city and seeing the struggles of everyone around me, it really inspired me to get into social justice work and start to think about the vulnerable folks in our society. And that's why I'm so happy to be here with PETA's Food Justice Program. After today's meeting, Pro Tem Tate and PETA will be giving away free vegan chickpea tuna wraps from Estella's, this amazing woman and amazing business. JD's vegan ice cream donated by record producer Jermaine Dupree, and bags packed with fresh produce and other healthy vegan foods. Vegan foods contain no animal products at all, so no meat, dairy, eggs, or other animal products. But nowadays, it's so easy to eat compassionately. There are so many amazing restaurants and options here in Detroit and around the state. We're especially excited to partner with Chantel, who opened the first vegan bakery in the city. So that's awesome, and thank you so much for being here. This giveaway, which has been done in cities like Los Angeles, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Atlanta, and Baltimore, comes at a time when nearly 1 million Michiganders struggle with food insecurity. 300,000 of those folks are children, many of them Detroit kids like I was. I am here from PETA, which is a national organization, but this issue is very personal to me. I am so proud to be from Detroit, but I remember how hard it was for my family to find fresh produce or to learn about healthy eating when I was growing up in my neighborhood, especially while using food stamps and assistance. When I was just 12 years old, I lost my dad to a heart attack. He was also a lifelong Detroiter, and I always held the belief that if we had known more about healthy eating and had more opportunities to eat healthy, he would still be with me today. So it's a very personal issue for me as well. Everyone deserves access to nutritious foods, but it's difficult for people living in food deserts to eat healthy. Food deserts, of course, disproportionately affect communities of color and low-income neighborhoods, and Michigan's Department of Agriculture has identified 19 neighborhoods in Detroit that are technically food deserts and lack accessibility to quality and healthy food. People living in food deserts are locked into a system of injustice. They have to resort to processed foods and meats and snacks, which can lead to diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and strokes. And eating a healthy vegan diet can help, on the other hand, provide some protection for these conditions. And so we have a solution. For years, the government has been subsidizing animal agriculture industries that are making people sick, that harm the environment, and of course perpetuate extreme cruelty to animals. We're calling on Michigan's legislators to redirect the millions of our tax dollars that are used to prop up these industries towards incentives instead for grocers to stock fresh produce, healthy food, and humane vegan foods as well. Without a financial incentive, there's no motivation for stores to change or to do better. So PETA would love for you all to join us in fighting for food justice. I hope you'll grab a bag of food and a delicious sandwich and some ice cream outside. And please fill out a postcard to tell your legislators to support you in advocating for food justice. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? So again, you know, folks want to find out information. I mean, they may not be sold just yet.
Definitely.
Where can they find resources, information on, one, the effort that we have before us, Fight for Food Justice, but then even more importantly, how do they get in touch with you?
Right.
Tell us. We need to know. We need to know.
Mm-hmm. We can go ahead and start. How do people try your amazing food?
Yeah, so the storefront is currently closed, but Estella's is still up and running and operating. So we do offer pickup and delivery. We're based still out of Brightmoor at the Brightmoor Artisans Collective, but we ship our cakes, all of our pound cakes, breads, cookies, things like that is available for shipment. But yeah, so you can visit www.estelascuisine.com, place your order. If you have any questions, please see me outside, or you can also email us at hello@estelascuisine.com, as well as we post all of our information, where we're gonna be, what's coming up on Instagram at Estella's Cuisine, as well as Facebook.
Yeah, and any information about, trying vegan, getting vegan recipes, we'll have a bunch of literature and information outside for you. I'll be around if you have any questions. I was raised eating meat. I was not vegan at birth, and so I learned more about how it affected the community and animals and the planet and decided to make that decision. So it's never too late to start eating vegan food and dabble in it and learn more about how it's a healthy, compassionate diet. And yeah, and like I said, Estella's is one of the amazing options here in Detroit. There are so many. There's Trap Vegan, which opened up recently, which is incredible. There's Detroit Vegan Soul in the Grandmont Rosedale neighborhood. So I encourage everybody to check it out. We'll be out there to answer any questions that you have about eating vegan or supporting this effort. And go to the PETA website. You can also text in from your phone to support this effort to get legislators to have this incentive for healthier and fresh produce in stores.
All right. Now, how many of you have eaten vegan desserts before? Okay. Well, I want to let you know this is the home of the world famous vegan pound cake. I'm letting you know this right now. All right? Estella. So you all make sure you support one of our own. Support one of our own. All right, y'all give it up again for Ms. Chantel Jones and Ms. Rachel Owen. Thank you so much. And don't forget, on your way out, we got some goodies for you. All right, we are now at that point in the meeting where we are going into announcements. We want to make sure that those who are here who have announcements to make, you have a chance to do so. Who is our person who's going to? Oh, we have a question? Oh, well, okay. Here, who's going to make the announcement?
So up on the screen right now, many of you have been following us throughout the pandemic. Pro Tem has spent a lot of time talking about home repair programs. You all are seeing it first. HRD, the Housing Revitalization Department with the City of Detroit, they were on Zoom trying to wait for us. But the applications for Renew Detroit 2.0 opens on the 1st. You all are seeing the flyer first. So if you have applied for the HOPE exemption and maybe didn't get an opportunity to get a new roof or windows replacements in that first round, the City of Detroit, your council members have come together to provide a second round of funding for Renew Detroit to help Detroiters get new roofs and replace windows. And this round will service 1,000 homes. So you heard it first here. Round 2 of Renew Detroit opens on October 1st, and there's a 30-day period, October 1st to the 31st. First and foremost, though, you've got to get that HOPE application in to get the HOPE exemption to qualify for this second round of funding for home repair grants.
All right. I also have an Okay, sounds good. All right, so I do have an announcement on behalf of our office. So recently, not even recently, Pro Tem Tay has been an advocate for gun violence reduction in the city for a pretty long time now. And so we're revamping up the D1 CAN initiative of gun violence reduction. In an effort to do that, we plan on addressing the root causes of gun violence in the city of Detroit. And as we come up with all these root causes, economic disparities, the culture of the city, things of that sort, one thing that stuck out too is irresponsible gun ownership being the cause of a lot of gun violence we see in the city. Due to negligence, not properly storing it, things of that sort, we've seen the headlines constantly. So our office, October 22nd, we are hosting a responsible gun ownership workshop at Crowell Rec Center from 1:30 to 3:30 to attack the root cause of irresponsible gun ownership through education. I think that is a big piece to solving this problem, and so that's what our office plans to do with that. In addition to that event, we have, as we know, the school board election is coming up, and we'll be electing 3 new school board positions for DPSCD. What our offices also plan to do on October 14th, and we will have the flyers and stuff like that posted on our social media, so make sure you're paying attention to that. But we will be hosting a school board forum where we put the candidates in front of the community and we ask them questions on behalf of the community of why they deserve the seat of making decisions for our children's education. So 2 big events that our office is coming up with. We want to make you all aware of those, and they will be on our social medias, gov.delivery, the whole 9. But I want to make you all aware of that, like I said, and now time for any other announcements. If you have an announcement, you can come right on up. If you have, you can line up next, I guess, basically.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good to see D1 again. So good to see everyone. So I'm Linda Wesley. Most of you know me from my prior position with former Council President Jones. I am now with the City of Detroit Ombudsman, Mr. Bruce Simpson, as his Community Relations Manager. So I welcome you to please invite Mr. Simpson out to your meetings. Many times people, they only know, they know the name ombudsman, but they really don't know what an ombudsman actually does. So if you will, please feel free to invite Mr. Simpson out to your meetings. You can see me, I'll be here until the end. Invite him out to your meetings so that he can come out and explain to our residents what actually an ombudsman is. Just real quick, it is an independent oversight agency for all city departments. It is not an elected position. It's an appointed position through city council, and all of that can be explained in your meeting. So thank you for giving me a few minutes. It's so good to see everybody again. And if you ever need me, I can be reached at 313-985-5813. 313-985-5813. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Wayne County Commissioner Monique Baker McCormick. I represent this area where we are right now, Northwest Detroit. And as I mentioned earlier, moving into Redford Township area. Just wanted to make a quick announcement about our Wayne County Commission Youth Council that I started when I became a commissioner 4 years ago. We have open applications for 10th through 12th graders. Right now, they're working on gun violence and gun reform. They have a trip planned to Lansing in November. They're doing a lot of good work, and we got to get our youth involved and know that their voice is being heard. Also, our war on trash efforts continue. We have sign removal Saturdays. It is illegal to post signs on light poles, and we see them all around our community. It causes blight, and we don't want it in our community, so we're actually going out and taking down the signs. So if any of you would like to volunteer for that effort, please reach out to me. And the last thing, our third annual Veterans Turkey Giveaway is coming up in November. I'm a veteran of the United States Army, so it's dear to me that we support, thank you, that we support our veterans. So November, 14th, we're gonna have our Veterans Turkey Giveaway. We're working with Grandmont Rosedale Development to give those turkeys away. So again, if you need additional information, you can call my office at 313-224-0884, and I also have information here. Thank you so much, Councilman Tate. Thank you.
So good morning, everybody. My name is Harrison Shelby. I'm a community leader in District 1, also elected precinct delegate in 269. So I live in Westbrook and McNichol, so I'm not really far from here. But I'm here in another capacity. I'm currently with NARO Pro-Choice Foundation. And I'm not sure if anybody's familiar, but NARO's been fighting for reproductive rights for over 50 years. Right now, I'm currently organizing in Detroit to do nonpartisan voter registration, primarily on college campuses, and then it's just expanded into the community, which I'm pretty sure I'm speaking to, the choir here. But you hear every year, these elections are really important, especially around this issue. At the top of the ticket, we have, polarized candidates that have different viewpoints on that, and how it actually affects everybody. So we've been fighting for reproductive rights for everybody. And that also includes birth control, pregnancy, postpartum care, and paid family leave. So it's it's more encompassing. And we have about 4 million members across every state and every congressional district. And then I also wanted to let you know that 8 in 10 people support reproductive freedom in America. And so on the college campuses, we are targeted to hit our goal to register 14,000 new voters across the 7 largest campuses in Michigan. I'm primarily focusing on Wayne State and the Metro Detroit area, as well as our community colleges, and 28 commit to vote cards. So you all can stay connected with us if you want to fill out one of these cards, whether that's you want to volunteer or you want us to come out to your community and spread more awareness or anything, or just to stay connected to give reminders of when the election is, November 8th. And we're making sure that people, you know, there is a ballot initiative on as well that's also around that. But I'm on the C3 side, so I won't talk about that. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Wells?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jetty Wells. I'm the president of CNBC Block Club, which is on the area of 8 Mile, Telegraph, down through Berg Road. I've received a message from Precinct 8 yesterday to say that on Wednesday, September the 28th, we're going to have a walk a mile with Chief White. As you know, he's been doing these walks throughout the city of Detroit, and now we have the opportunity on this side of the city to be engaged with him. The site that you should be reporting to is the Weston Academy, which is on the corner of North Chippewa and Berg Road. And we'll be leaving at 5:30. I don't think it will be quite a mile because they wanted to secure the Cherokee Avenue more so because most of the members that we have that's involved over there live on that street. So we would like for you to keep an eye on social media, and I'm sure it will be announced through Pro Tem Tate's site and also maybe Carla Williamson's, that I can get her as soon as I get the official paperwork. They were supposed to drop it off this morning, but they didn't, so I thought I'd take a chance and still go ahead and announce it. So hope to see you there.
Thank you, Ms. Wells. Any other? Okay, we got one more. Here you go, sir.
How you doing, sir? Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brian Ferguson. I am the chairperson of the Board of Police Commissioners for District 1. Oh, what? Y'all woke? I got more applause than this on Zoom. Listen, this is beautiful. I love being back here in the community. I want to thank you guys for coming out. I would like for you guys to watch or come down to the BOPC's meeting. BOPC means Board of Police Commissioners, right? That's just for short. We meet every Thursday at 3 o'clock at the Detroit headquarters, right? And the second Thursdays of every month, we meet throughout the communities at 6:30. I would love for you guys to come out, find out what we do, ask some questions, give some constructive criticisms to help us move forward. In short, what the Board of Police Commissioners do, we're oversight for the police and the community, right? So if you ever have a run-in with a police officer and your interactions were not pleasant, you can file a complaint, all right? You can file a complaint. You can call over to the OCI's office. I'll have some information back there. You can go into the 8th, the 2nd, or the 6th precinct, because that's in our area, right, and file a complaint, right? And we will be able to take your complaint and get it handled. And then we can also help the officer better, because when you have an interaction with an officer, sometimes it's not pleasant. And that's where we come into play, to make sure that you have a pleasant interaction with an officer, even at the trying times, right? That officer is supposed to treat you like a human being. So that's where we come in at. And that's all my time. If you guys want to reach me, area code 313-316-2493, all right? That's how you can reach me. But I got some information back there, so love seeing you guys again. Thank you, Pro Tem Tate. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. We have an announcement from social media.
It's not so much of an announcement. I just want to piggyback on him. This is from Vice Chairperson Annie Mae Holt of BOPC. She just wants to thank Pro Tem Councilman James Tate. She says, your entire program of presentations are on point and very informative.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, well, thank you, Commissioner Holt, as well, also a D1 resident. And that's the end of the meeting, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate you for showing up, but I'm just going to let you know, again, we didn't know how many folk were going to show up, didn't know how many people were going to be on Zoom. But we had 50 people here in the building. We had 17 on Zoom and 10 on Facebook. So we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. We're back because of you. God bless you. Be safe. Be well. Y'all take care.